Hi guys, I'm Shmi and welcome to the fourth part of our Speed Lives Here tour to celebrate the launch of new Esso Synergy fuels. And we're kicking off this morning at the Isle of Man Motor Museum. Today we're going to be taking a look around the museum before we go and drive some of the roads here on the Isle of Man, including the legendary TT circuit. Now, of course, we're driving this tour in my Porsche Cayman GT4. We headed out of London up to Wales, had a day at the Anglesey circuit in northwest Wales before visiting Liverpool yesterday for a meeting and then catching the ferry over here to the Isle of Man. We're joined also today by this absolutely gorgeous Ferrari F12 Berlinetta parked here alongside the Cayman, but today looks set to be a pretty good one so long as we can beat the weather. As you can probably tell, it's rather windy here, but it should be a good one. Let's head inside and take a look around the Isle of Man Motor Museum. Inside, and I'm joined by Darren, the co-owner of the Motor Museum. How did this all get started?
It started sort of about 2 years ago. My dad and I had a large collection of classic cars in and around London. We needed somewhere better to house them and somewhere we could enjoy the cars. So looking around, decided to move away, and then came to the Isle of Man, fell in love with the place, found a site, started building here in August last year, and we opened in May this year, and that's it.
And now you have a rather spectacular display around here.
We do. We've got a few interesting things in this building now. Yeah.
Let's take a quick whiz around.
Okay.
Point out some of the highlights to us. And
We start this one here. It's a 1925 Cubic K4. This was actually the very first car I ever drove on the road.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a normal. Most people's first cars, hatchbacks, small.
This was when I was about, I think the statute of limitations out now, was when I was about 12 years old and we'd broken down and Dad was towing me back, and yeah, I was driving this thing around. So it's built in Aylesbury. It's quite rare. There's about 5 or 6 of them survive.
Okay, fantastic.
So that's fun. Then just over here we've got our Cadillac V16. So this was built in 1936. It was the ultimate car in the 30s. Al Capone had V16s. The first armoured presidential car was a V16. This we bought out of a barn find. We needed to do a little bit of work to it, but it's runs and drives. It was lovely.
So you do a lot by way of restoration here as well, don't you?
Yeah. We like to do all our own work in-house. This one here is our 1953 Humber Super Snipe convertible. It was one of 4 that was built for the Queen and Prince Philip to use on their coronation tour of the Commonwealth.
Okay.
We managed to find it for sale in Sydney and brought it back a couple of years ago. In 2012, Goodwood Festival of Speed had a Cartier concourse for all royal cars, and we displayed that there alongside the presidential Citroën SM and some other interesting vehicles.
Very nice, yeah, because you do have an incredibly eclectic collection in here. Just how quickly it jumps to the different types of cars as we look around.
Well, exactly, and we purposely kind of mix things up. I think it's nice to be able to compare and contrast things from different eras and different styles. This blue Jaguar here was my dad's daily driver from the late 70s, well, from the early 80s onwards. That was the car I was brought home from the hospital in when I was born.
Okay,
So
that's fun to have that.
Yeah.
So that car, as well as the first car you ever drove, it's a very personal collection.
Exactly. So this is our 1990 Ortec Zagato. It's a Nissan 300 ZX that's tuned by Ortec and then was bodied in Italy by Zagato. When it was new, it was twice the price of a Honda NSX.
Really?
They really didn't sell many of them because they're, I'll say, distinctive looking.
Distinctive is a word. I was just looking at this kind of shape here.
Yeah,
wondering
that's where your wing mirrors there.
what's going on. That's your wing mirrors.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an interesting little bit of design.
Yeah, so they are truly wing mirrors on this car. But it's a fun bit of kit.
For sure.
It's got far too much power for its own good. This Austin Healey is on loan from a local collector, and it was the 1959 London Motor Show car. He's had it restored, and it's just immaculate. It's absolutely lovely machine now. And then just behind it, we've got my '94 Alfa Romeo RZ. It's the Roadster Zagato. This is our BMW M5 Touring in E34. This one is one of only 2 right-hand drive M5 Tourings we know about, because BMW didn't build an M5 Touring in right-hand drive in this time.
Okay.
So it was a guy who had a BMW parts dealership. He took an E34 M5 Saloon and a 520 station wagon and combined them.
made it himself.
Yeah, and it works perfectly, and it is a lovely
imagine.
machine. Yeah, serious amount of power that's got. Then beside it here, we've got on loan a Lotus Carlton. This is quite an early car in the run. When it was new, this was the fastest saloon car. It did 175 miles an hour, but it looked pretty much like any other repmobile on the motorways at the time. This is our Abbott FV433 self-propelled gun. It's not a tank. We were made very aware that it's not a tank the very first time I called it a tank on Facebook.
Okay.
A tank fires when it's on the move. This fires when it's stationary. It's an artillery piece. Our 1953 Willis 8x8. This car is 8-wheel drive and 8-wheel steer.
8-wheel drive and 8-wheel steer. That's like, take that Mercedes 6x6.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
take that GT3 RS and F12 TDF with your rear wheel steer. This has 2 rows of rear wheel steer.
This is how you do it properly. It is powered by a Chevy Corvette engine. It spits flames every time you start it up.
Really?
Oh yeah, lots of them. Yeah, it's hilarious. You can control the front and rear wheels independently, so you can crab sideways or you can do tiny little circles. The back wheels, you never know which way they're pointing, so you can be holding the steering wheel straight and then it suddenly is drifting out from behind you.
Right, okay.
And then next to it here is our 1959 Cadillac Millimeter ambulance. This is the same type of car that the Ghostbusters X01 was based on. This was actually the very first American car we bought. We figured if you're going to buy an American car, do it right, get the biggest one you can.
Yeah, good start. Very good way to start. Well, thank you very much for showing me around.
Oh, you're very welcome, Tim.
You've certainly got an incredibly eclectic selection of cars, and it's great to hear all the stories. And we've only shown a small snippet of everything that you have.
Well, I think everything in the museum does have a story, and we just love being able to share it with people like yourself.
Well, thank you very much, really appreciate it. But I think now we're heading over to something else as well.
Yeah, you're about to take the Stanley steam car out for a spin.
I'm looking forward to this. The next adventure then, I'm going to be joined by Chris, who owns this car, which is, tell me about it, tell me what we're looking at.
Well, this is a 1907 Gentleman Speedy Roadster, steam-powered, made by Stanley in America. There were 2 models of this particular year, a slower one and a faster one. This is the faster one.
Right, okay.
The slower one did 60 miles an hour, and this one did about 75.
So this is 75 miles an hour in 1907.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to compute that. That's fairly ridiculous. So this is a proper sort of supercar of the start of the 1900s.
Well, it was the fastest production car that you could buy in the States in 1907, so I guess it was probably the first supercar.
And it's a steam car, something I know very little about, to be completely honest. So.
Steam-powered, it's burning kerosene to boil the water.
Okay.
And then the engine is directly geared straight to the back axle with no gearbox and no clutch.
Right, okay. Well, let's jump on board and go for a little run. Okay.
Good luck, Mr. Burton.
That was a different experience. Bit wet. I couldn't exactly film that outside because of the weather. I'm absolutely soaked, but we went out, then we swapped around and I had a go driving. Obviously the first time I've ever driven a steam car, something completely different, but that was so much fun, even though I'm soaked from head to toe. Just look, my trousers, oh dear. Yeah, that was a pretty exciting experience. So massive thanks, of course, to Chris there for letting me take the wheel and having a go in his 1907 Stanley H4 Gentleman's Speedy Roadster, sorry. Yeah, something totally different. I don't know if I'll ever do that again. I can hear something interesting happening in the background over there. Yeah, I'm soaked to bits, but absolutely delighted. That's like the birth of the supercar. 1907, original car that can do 75 miles an hour. driving out here in the Isle of Man. That's what I call good times. They're just starting up a jet engine. You have to hand crank it. I'm a little bit wet, but we have had an absolutely brilliant visit to the Isle of Man Motor Museum, and we're going to head off now and check out a little collection. So this is going to be quite exciting too. Leave the F12 there, and we'll follow the Pirelli Edition Aventador, which is quite rare. I think there are only 50 of those. It's been a great day, except for the weather. And of course, totally new experience for me now, driving a steam car. Interesting drive there on the mountain roads of the Isle of Man in some pretty atrocious weather, but thank you very kindly to the owner of this little man cave. We've come to have a look around. Now, I need to give you a little bit of a history here as to the Isle of Man and the TT circuit, so the legendary TT races. Motorcycle event happens once a year, end of May, early June. And it's pretty insane because the bikes are hitting speeds up to 200 miles an hour as they blast around the roads of the Isle of Man. Now in here, as well as some cars, we've got a pretty special selection of bikes. I'm going to give you a quick whiz around. Now, I don't know too much about motorcycles. I'm a four-wheel man rather than a two-wheel man. But this collection is pretty special. From bikes that raced in the TT in 1947 and 53 to a MotoGP bike from last year, or 2014 MotoGP bike. Some pretty special bikes in here with quite a lot of history to them as well. So this is a pretty special little collection going on in here. And as well as that, there's a 660 horsepower Shelby GT500. And I'm sure you saw at this end, a Ford GT, which is absolutely amazing. Love the Ford GTs. I can't wait to see the new one. So this little collection here is really rather special. So a big thanks to the owner for allowing me to come along and have a look. I'm just going to show you this one too. Kawasaki Ninja. This thing has 320 horsepower, but look at it as a work of art with all the carbon fibre, the wings, the shapes. It's just stunning. Stopped for a little lunch break, and I've noticed that I've done a pretty spectacular job of getting the car very, very dirty. I seem to have gone through something muddy at the front of the car, which has made a nice mess. You can see all the bits of mud that have come up over the side and just gone absolutely everywhere. Although you kind of get some aero, because you can see even the mud there coming through under the wing. So this is going to need a good clean up when we get home. But we're now going to go off and drive sections of the TT circuit. And I will explain more about this and about the rather special rules of the road here on the Isle of Man when we're driving. We're now on the TT circuit, but there's one particular thing about the Isle of Man that's different to anywhere else in the world pretty much. Where you have national speed limit signs here, like in the UK, you have a white sign with a black diagonal cross through it, but in the Isle of Man, unlike the 60 mile per hour limits in the UK or 70 mile per hour on a dual carriageway, when you have the national speed limit sign here, it means there is no speed limit. So rather like the German autobahns where they're de-restricted, the routes here in the Isle of Man, when you're not in the 30 or the 40 or the 50 mile per hour zone, quite literally, there is no limit. You can drive as fast as you can. Well, as fast as it's safe to do so. Let me rephrase that, of course. So on a day like today, it's wet, it's slippy, we have to be a little bit sensible. But when the motorbikes are going around on the TT race, they are flying. But quite literally, for one of the first times ever, I can drive this kind of road, 70 miles per hour, and I'm not breaking the law, which is quite nice. Obviously, you have to be very careful with safety as a result of being allowed to do this. The police obviously don't appreciate you doing anything stupid. But it is a fascinating experience, and especially with this tarmac that's laid for the race, it's very, very smooth. Significantly better than you would normally have on such a sort of twisty, windy road, that's for sure. With it opening up in front of me straight, I can safely drive, you know, fairly briskly and enjoy a sort of minutes of what's sort of safe and sensible, you know, where we've got good visibility, where it's not dangerous to do so, we can push on a little bit more. Now with today's weather, it's pretty foggy. A time like this, of course, we are not going to be going quickly. We can only just see the car in front of us right now. So yeah, this is where you exercise caution, of course, and play it very, very safe. But it's fascinating how much of a sort of big event the Isle of Man TT is. I can't believe I've never been over for the event. And we're going to drive, I think, a full lap of the course before we head back for the ferry, and I'm looking forward to this a lot. We're back in Douglas, and this is the start-finish straight. This is the main grandstand. This is, of course, where the lap starts and where it finishes. This sort of crazy, crazy, crazy course that the cars, sorry, not cars, the motorbikes go round in a mere 17 minutes or so, which is absolutely bonkers. For this journey, I think it's going to take us a little bit longer than that to get around, but nonetheless, it's a fun one to experience and see. Now, of course, there are bits like this that on a normal day like today are 30-mile-per-hour zones, so take it easy. It goes without saying, the roads are absolutely awesome, and we've pulled over here just to take some photos in this harbour, Port Ellen I think it's called. Absolutely beautiful scenery we've been seeing as we've been going around, so it would have been a waste to not shoot some pictures while we've been at it. But having a lot of fun, and the reason I bought this car on this trip is because it's just so at home here on the Isle of Man, in the nice tight twisty roads, being able to enjoy it without being going silly speeds in the national limit bits. It's just the perfect car, and the roads around here are really all about speed living here. I mean, safe speed, of course, that's the most important thing. But we've been to Anglesey, now we're driving around the Isle of Man. Absolutely fantastic. Enjoying this an awful, awful lot. The day has flown by. It's now evening, and we're lining up at the ferry to head over to Heysham, back on the mainland. We had a great one, of course, heading around the TT circuit. But it's been pretty windy and blustery tonight, so we have no idea if this ferry crossing is going to be bearable or completely horrific. But either way, I'm just being asked to move forwards a little bit more, who knows why, there we go. But either way, we hope that this is going to be okay, and we're not going to get blown around too much, because we'll probably get some rest on the ferry. It's a late night one before we get in, ready for tomorrow's adventures heading through England. So I think we're just going to be held here for a little bit before we board onto the ferry. All done and aboard the ferry. It's going to be a long crossing and probably a choppy crossing too, but I'm going to wrap up there for today. What a brilliant day it has been here on the Isle of Man. My first time visiting the island, and it was a pretty good one. Obviously, we started off at the Isle of Man Motor Museum. Thank you very much to everyone for the visit around there, and of course going out with Chris and driving in the steam-powered car. That was quite an interesting experience. And then we got to check out the island and drive some of the awesome roads here, the interesting stories behind the TT circuit, and of course the route for the TT itself, and some pretty cool scenery on the way, and even to stop off at the private collection to take a look at some of those bikes. So it's been a pretty good day, and GT4 was pretty much the perfect car for this part of the Speed Lives Here tour. And Speedy was all about safe speed, of course. It's very important to remember that side of things. Easy to get carried away, especially with cars like this. But yeah, this was a good one. This has been an amazing day for the fourth day of this second tour, celebrating the launch of Esso Synergy fuels. Tomorrow though, we're going to be staying at a hotel just over on the mainland tonight. Tomorrow we have 2 or 3 stops on our way down south. We're going to visit the TVR factory, then we're going to stop off at the Coventry Transport Museum before the Gaydon Heritage Centre, and then it's down to London. So that's going to be wrap up of this tour. It's been an absolutely brilliant one so far, and I can't wait for tomorrow now as well. So I'm going to go upstairs, I'll get this video edited, and then I'll also hopefully get an opportunity for some dinner and some rest. It's been a long day, but an absolutely brilliant one. So thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch up with you again tomorrow. Cheers! Hi Nick, how are you?
Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Hi, nice to see you.
Pretty excited about today. I can see the car over there. Let's go straight inside.